Respected Dr. Ignatius Sehaman, Reverend Father Sundar, Vice Chancellor, guest Professor Dr. Ismail, Naci, Cangul, principals, deans, heads, faculty members, scholars, and dear students. Good morning to everyone. We are happy to conduct this international webinar on research article writing. I request all the participants to mute your mic and video for better listen for the presentation. Participants, if you have any questions, please ask at the end of the session. Now, let me introduce the chief guest. It's a great privilege to welcome our resource person, Professor Dr. Ismail Naci Cangul, Faculty of Arts and Science, Department of Mathematics, Bursa Uludag University, Turkey. He started his master's in 1987 and became a research assistant on February 1988 at Uludag University. He completed his MSc on the topic Automorphisms of Compact Clean Surfaces. After completing his MSc in 1989, he went to United Kingdom for academic research by a HEC grant. He completed his MSc courses and his second MSc thesis in Warwick University between September 1989 to August 1990 on the topic normal subgroups of the molecular group. Afterwards, he moved to Southampton University in September 1990 to do his PhD. The title of his PhD thesis was Normal Subgroups of Hecke Groups. On 1995, he became an assistant professor in mathematics department at the Faculty of Arts and Science in Uludag University. In 1999, he became an associate professor in analysis and theory of functions, and finally in 2005, he became a full professor in Uludag University. He had been working as a Bologna expert for the implementation of university reforms within the team of Turkish national experts for 11 years. He attended over 100 meetings and gave many seminars. He had been in 2 European Union projects on quality culture and institutional review. He was the supervisor in 3 European Union student projects. He also took part in 17 scientific research projects from TÜBİTAK, Turkish Scientific Research Council, and Uludag University. He had been the Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Science for 6 years between 2008 and 2015. He attended to numerous national and international congresses and gave over 200 talks. He organized 8 international congresses and workshops. He also has been in the scientific committees of over 30 international congresses. He had written 49 books, over 200 scientific research papers, half of which are in the Essay Indices Web of Science databases. Most of his scientific works has been completed with co-workers from Turkey, France, UK, India, Canada, USA, South Korea, Greece, South Africa, Japan, Romania, Hungary, etc. He had already supervised 15 MSc students and 21 PhD students. Most of his students are supported by scholarships from TÜBİTAK. 20 of his scientific papers have been awarded by TÜBİTAK Scientific Papers Supporter Program. He had been awarded several prizes, awards as a result of his scientific accomplishments, some recent ones being the highest number of annual publications prize in 2011. The special prize for Bologna Coordination Committee member in 2011. The highest number of annual projects prize in 2012. Scientific of the Year prize in 2012. The annual Successful Academic Group Prize for Mathematics Department in 2012. The highest number of annual publications prize in 2013, and the Best Performance Award in 2016 in Uludag University. He has been continuing his editorial positions in 21 international scientific journals and is the referee for more than 100 journals. He is a member of 6 national and international mathematical societies. one of which is honorary. We're proud to have a great academician like you for the webinar today. On behalf of our university, I welcome you, sir. Now, I hand over the session to Professor Dr. Ismail Naci to deliver his lecture. Please, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for the great introduction that I hope I deserve. I first of all thank to my friend Govindan Vediyapan, who asked me first to participate in this talk, to give this talk. I was anxious first, but afterwards I said, why not? It would be a great experiment. So I accepted. So I also thank to all colleagues and friends in DMI St. John the Baptist University in Mangochi, in Central Africa, Malawi. I hope my talk will be giving at least some ideas to young researchers, because senior researchers do know better than me about how to get their papers written, how to get their publications accepted. Everybody has their experiences. I try to give some slight key points of how to get it published, how to write a research paper. So I hope, as I said, it will be useful to at least some of you. So let's start if you are ready. Strangely, I cannot find the PDF file. Just a second, sorry. Yes. Okay. So the title is How to Prepare a Paper. And of course, underline it, and you can add another subtitle, how to get it published. That's more important nowadays. Because of this pandemic, especially, everybody is working more harder, and lots of papers are produced, and all the editors know that they are getting more and more papers, so they have to be selective, much more than ever. So what we should do as the authors, we should prepare good papers to have the chance of acceptance. All right, that's the idea. So what are the key points we should care about, we should be very careful with, are listed in this talk. So before giving the details of how to prepare a paper, maybe we should give the details of how not to prepare a paper. So this is not certainly a way of preparing a paper, sleeping on the beach. This is another way possible, but it is also not the way we want and the editors want. This certainly is not that way. So we should be awakened, we should be careful, we should be concentrated, we should be ready. Like in this caricature, for example, one says to other, what are you doing today? He says, nothing. Haven't you done so yesterday, he asks. And he answers, yes, but I couldn't finish. So this is not a good way. We should do something. All right? So how to prepare a paper then? First of all, we need sacrifice from our family, from our private time, from our friends, all right? And also we must be devoted to do it. Otherwise, it's not possible. These are the first necessities. Devotion, as symbolized with this item, this symbol, is very important. Secondly, we need planning. Nowadays, most people say that they don't have time. They cannot do everything they want to. Okay? This is our common problem. Modern society, everything is very fast. We are reachable at any place, even on the mountain we are walking. Someone calls you and asks you to do anything, for help, for explanation, for solving a problem. Okay, so we need planning. If we plan everything in advance, we can manage all our problems. We can manage everything. Okay, that's the key point, planning. Thirdly, one needs a good problem. And usually, if you are not working alone, you need good co-workers. These co-workers are sometimes students, sometimes your department colleagues, or sometimes international co-workers. Doesn't matter. All of them are good. If you are alone, only one mind works. But if you have a team of co-workers, then it's good for you. You can,
I'll give you next week.
okay, yeah, this is better. So teamwork is very important, okay? Another thing, communication. Communication is very important. You can be the best scientists in the world, but if you cannot write them and if you cannot communicate them with others, then nothing is important. No matter what you know, no matter what you can achieve, is not recorded anywhere. History is full of these stories, you know. Many people in the last centuries, in the 18th century, in the 17th century, did great work, but no one understood them because they had either misbehavement, the editors or the friends, or they didn't know about what this special person did. Like, for example, Galois, Evariste Galois is one of them. He did a great theory, Galois theory, you know, in abstract algebra, about the fields, polynomials, etc. But no one cared about him. Many years after he died at the age of 21 also, that's very important. After many years after he died, his work was understood and congratulated, celebrated, okay? So sometimes if you cannot communicate your results to others, that's a problem. So you must be a good writer to be a scientist. And you can, at that point, you can effectively communicate your results to other researchers, okay? That's very important key points. So, how to prepare a paper? There are two main factors affecting the preparation of a paper. The type, the style, especially. The journal, okay, or the publisher maybe. Usually publishers have the same format for all journals. They have Springer format is different. Taylor and Francis is different. Elsevier is different. Hindawi is different. All publishers have different styling, different templates. Years ago, when we were young researchers do not know about this, but senior researchers do certainly know about this. We used to send by an envelope, ordinary post, a PDF printout, okay? So after a few weeks, we will get a reply with ordinary post. It was taking a long time. Now you get acceptance or reject in a few days sometimes, if the journal works very fast. So the journal is very important. You have to care about the requirements of the journal. You have to read author's requirements, author's information before preparing your paper. Also, the research area is very important. I'm a mathematician. Most of you are probably mathematicians, but probably there are some other people, I don't know the audience, but I worked in several groups, administrative groups at my university, and I know that all the sciences have different properties, different necessities, different requirements. So preparing a paper in agricultural sciences is different than preparing a paper in physics, for example. Methods are different. Writing styles are different. The programs you use or they use are different. That's very important. As I said, scientific areas like fundamental sciences, engineering sciences, life sciences, social sciences, health sciences, they all have different properties, different requirements. That's also something to be care about. Of course, only not these 5 titles, fundamental engineering, life, social health. There are some sub-areas. For example, as I'm a mathematician, I will give my examples in mathematics. Sorry for others, but at least one example there will be. There are sub-areas usually in such as analysis, algebra, geometry, topology, applied mathematics, logic. Maybe there are some more. So in every area, in every scientific field, we have some sub-areas like this. Some sub-areas are growing every day, and some of them are getting lost because of their importance is reducing, okay? So even between these sub-areas of each scientific area, there are differences. In my department, I will give you 2 examples. One person, one group of people in my department in Bursa, Uludag University, are working with projective geometry. Very important area, related to algebra, related to geometry, okay? So, non-Euclidean geometry, that is, okay? So, they do very important research. They get a lot of papers, a lot of results, but there are only a few very good journals in their area where they can publish their results. So if the editor is not friendly in these few journals, they get less chance of getting their papers published. But some other group of people in my department are working in applied mathematics. They use computer programs. They use fractional calculus, very famous nowadays. They use modeling, and they get computer publications as papers. That's another way. And they do over 30, over 40 papers a year. Others, only one if they are lucky, every year. So even in every department, within the department, the people have different chances of getting their paper published. That's key point for administrators, for chancellors, for rectors, for deans to care about people when you judge, when you compare different areas. But unfortunately, because of details that every scientific area has, and the differences between the variety of the differences actually between the sciences, rectors or chancellors do not care about these differences. They just apply the same rules to all scientists. They don't care about applied mathematician or topologist or analyst, doesn't matter. They just apply all the rules to all the people. Okay, that's a shame, unfortunately, for some scientific areas, but there is nothing to do at the moment. All right. If possible, in some areas, this is possible. If you force it, it is becoming possible, believe me. I was a very theoretical scientist at the beginning. I was an algebraist. I was working with discrete group theory, very private, very specific topic in pure mathematics. No pictures, no figures, no applications. But in the last 10, 11 years, I moved to a related topic, graph theory. And I can work with chemists now. I can work with social scientists now. I can work with material scientists now. So it is possible. You can do it. Not at the beginning. After you have a background on your main area, you will know, because the editors will send you papers in related areas and you will evaluate them, for example, or you will read in your research for literature. Then you will say that, oh, these are related. I can do something on this topic, maybe. And you have to find the right person, not even at your university. They may not be. They may be in another country, or they may be in another university in your country. So try to become an interdisciplinary researcher. That will help, okay? Don't stuck with your department. Don't stuck with your student and co-workers. Try to go further, okay? Now, more technical parts. Common features of a paper. As I said already, there are lots of differences between areas. So, is there a common way of writing a paper? No, unfortunately not. But what are the common features of a paper? This is a little bit fixed, kind of fixed. Some of these titles may not be there in a mathematics paper, for example, but usually all editors, even in mathematics, even in pure mathematics, expect this construction in a paper. I will explain all these things in the forthcoming page. These common features are title, abstract, keywords, classification numbers or codes, introduction, main body, conclusion, and references. About the title, what are the key points? Selecting the title can be difficult, especially what we do usually. We think of a problem that we can solve, we believe that we can solve, because we have done some similar results, similar papers. So we first write the paper's title, and then try to obtain the results that we plan according to the title. This is wrong. The title should be left to the end. First, of course, you will think of a title, okay, but the results may be wider, may be covering a wider area. So your title could be restrictive, okay? It cannot explain all the things you have done, you have got, okay? So write the title at the end. Write a draft title first, but the exact title should be constructed at the end, after everything is finished, okay? That's important. The title should draw the reader's attention, okay? Provocative, they say. The title should be provocative and identify all the contents of your work. Excessive length titles should be avoided. If the title is too long, then people will not like it, believe me. The type of manuscript significantly affects the title. If you are writing a political paper, then you must have a provocative title. But if you are writing, as in our case, a research paper in science, mathematics, social science, health science, doesn't matter, the title should be very direct and succinct. What about the abstract? Abstract is the first thing I read as an editor or as a referee when I have a paper to be evaluated. Okay? Most editors, most referees do that. Abstract is read first. Therefore, it must have some properties. It must be brief. A long abstract will look like a paper, so it will not help you. It must not contain any references. This is a cause of rejection in some journals. If you include some references in the abstract, the editors may not say it in the report, but they may directly reject it because they will think you are an amateur, you are a new beginner, and your research is not valuable for their journal. Do not use well-known statements like, this is just an example, spectral graph theory is an important sub-area of graph theory. This is well-known. All the areas are important, okay? According to those who are working in this area. So if you say this is an not objective statement, this is a subjective statement, okay? This is subject to your ideas. It's not a general or statement. It may be problematic and it's well known. Every topic is well known. Everything is important. Do not use that my topic is important. This is very dangerous. And only give a summary of your findings. Give what you have done, what you have achieved, what problem you solved, okay, in your work. That's important. Keywords are very important because people, when you sit down on their office, they do literature research, okay, and they write keywords like group theory, for example. All right. So if they search with keywords, then the authors should select the keywords very carefully. The right keywords should be used and selected. If you miss some keywords related to your topic, then the researchers searching for your area will miss your research paper, okay? They cannot find it and they cannot give citation to your research, okay? So that's a problem. We want our papers, when they are published, to be seen by many researchers, okay? If you keep it in the journal's webpage, it's no good for you. You don't get citation, you don't get marks from your administration. Usual number of keywords nowadays is 4 to 6, not more, because after 6, then you will go into very detailed things. So 4 to 6 keywords are important and necessary. Classification numbers. In mathematics, we say classification numbers. This classification is done in mathematics by AMS, American Mathematical Society, for many years, since 1990s, 2000s, 2010s, and this year, 2020 classification numbers are published. But in other areas, not classification numbers, sometimes area codes are used, like a library. When you go to library, if you look for mathematics books, you search for the codes because there are millions of books or thousands, hundreds of thousands of books. You cannot find where mathematics books are easily otherwise. You need codes. So the classification numbers are like keywords, okay? You must find in each paper when you write go to this list, because in each paper you have some new things, okay? Usually, mostly. So please select the right classification numbers, and these numbers are usually primary ones and secondary ones in some journals. Central Plot, for example, asks you for this classification, but usually you write all the classification numbers in the same place under the abstract. Usually the numbers, the number of classification numbers should be between 2 to 4 in general, of course. The journals will write sometimes some limits, down limits, up limits, so you must obey if you will submit to some particular journal. Introduction. Introduction is also very important, like abstract and title. It must include the problem statement, what you will solve, and why you will solve, okay? Literature review, what is done already in the problem, related to problem. If it's not extremely new problem that you are introducing, there must be some papers done in the area. So literature review should be given, a concise and up-to-date literature review should be given, okay? Data, if we use data, usually we don't use data as mathematicians, but in many areas they use extremely large sets of data which are conserved in some web page. Then you must include what data you have used, how you get it, is that reliable data, and this kind of things about the data, but we don't use data in most papers, so this part is not valid for mathematicians. Methods also should be given in the introduction. You can say that you use the combinatorial methods like this one, this one, this one. In our proofs, we obtained our statements of theorems using these methods, and you should compare, if possible, your methods with the existing methods. That's also very important. Main body, this is the longest part of the text of your paper, sometimes 10 page, 20 page, 30 page, but it includes all the research results you have obtained, but it is usually a classical way of writing this main part. So I will not tell you about this main body too much. Every journal has a styling template, so you will obey this template if you are submitting. Otherwise, most journals will not accept at the initial stage your paper, and they will say it must be written according to our template. Please resend it, resubmit it, or they will easily reject sometimes. Okay. Only few journals, only few publishing houses are there nowadays accepting any kind of doc or PDF. After acceptance, they want it to be written according to their template, which is very good, because sometimes when you send a paper, a recent paper of you to a journal, you spend lots of hours, and usually the programs like LaTeX give lots of errors at the beginning if you are a new beginner. Then you get bored, okay? You get angry, and after you write everything, you get help to finish your paper in the right template. You resubmit it, and then they will say, oh, we regret to say that your paper is not suitable, so okay? And you have to select another journal in another template. You have to rewrite, readjust, let me say, your paper according to new templates. Nowadays, sometimes your papers I don't know anyone who got all their papers accepted in the first journal. That's not possible. Not even one person, where famous people cannot do that. Sometimes they got corrections, sometimes they got rejections. Okay? So sometimes you have to readjust your paper in 5, 6, 7 templates, because each time you send it to a journal, you get rejection. So you have to try another one after correcting or after adding new results, after improving your paper. Okay? So let's pass this part. Conclusion is important. Conclusion, usually we are upset with this conclusion part. We write the copy of our statements, our results in the conclusion. Theorem says this is so. In conclusion, we say this is so is shown. This, they can read it. No need to write the same thing again. So the conclusion is the main part of a paper and not a statement of the given results. Okay? Not a restatement maybe of the given results. In conclusion, what you have to do, you must analyze and explain your results. Link your results to your original hypothesis. At the beginning, what was your problem? How you were planning to solve it? What methods you were planning to use? In the introduction, you gave this, don't forget. Do your results support or decline your hypothesis? If you have unexpected results, okay, then explain why. Explain your observations in specific terms, okay? Discuss possible reasons of unexpected results and how they affect your results, your expectations. Because sometimes there are lots of examples in the science history of science. People sometimes say that I have a thousandth way of how not to manage this problem, for example. But at the end, in the next experiment, for example, they got the right one. Okay? Sometimes errors will help you to get the right correct results. Compare your results to those in similar papers in conclusion. So these people did this and we did this. If you do not give detailed and clever explanations of your observations, you have little chance of getting your work published. So please be careful about the conclusion part. References, that is the most difficult part, especially in LaTeX program or similar programs. There are different formats. Okay, deep text formats, references formats, begin references, end references, this kind of formats. So it is sometimes very tiring business, writing references. You spend few hours writing references, even they are ready, okay, according to the template of or requirements of the journal. What you should be careful about with, in the references, when you state a fact that's not common knowledge, you must cite the source of that information. This is general. When you state a fact in somewhere your text, which is not common knowledge, you must give a source for this information. If it is common knowledge, we understand from that, then there is no need to explain, to give a source. Sometimes we give exhaustive use of references, no need for that. Lots of books, for example, some people write in their references. It's no good. All the books have the same things, same definitions, the fundamental books, okay? So one or two maybe is necessary and enough. The format varies for each journal, for the references I'm telling. Everything is changing, of course, with the journal. The references are ordered usually in two ways, alphabetically or according to order they have been used in the paper. The first one that you use in the introduction is number 1. So you can easily follow their order. If it is reference number 30, you know that it is used at the end of the paper, somewhere in the end, okay? But if you have number 1 reference, then surely it will be in the introduction. Do not cite, that's important, that's very, very important. Do not cite personal communication as a reference because they are not reliable. Use the origin of the statement. Whoever used it, gave you the idea or that information, he or she has got it from some other source. Okay? If he proved it, he might have published it, so you can use this reference. If he or she used some other paper or book, then you should use this original source. Internet addresses is another problem. Many internet pages nowadays are having wrong information or incomplete information. So even this very famous web pages in the internet are not reliable sometimes. They say it themselves. So do not give internet addresses as references. Do not give unpublished works. This is something we do, we all do. We have, for example, 5 papers recently we submitted, but they are not accepted yet. That means they have no scientific value yet. According to us, of course, they are the most important scientific achievements in the world because they are ours. But for others, no one knows. Experts, referees, editors should decide about the publication. If they are accepted, you can use it. As a preprint, as accepted, you must mention. But usually, as much as possible, do not use even those, okay? If, very important, if you have to use something from an unpublished paper of yours, of your friends, or of someone else, then be careful whether if the referee process is finished and it is accepted. That's at least a guarantee, okay? Otherwise, it's a problem. And finally, figures, tables, and diagrams about the structure of a journal paper. If we use figures, tables, diagrams, this kind of things that help us or the readers to understand the theorems, our ideas, okay, then this must be concise, okay? The length of these must be concise. The pictures and the tables and the diagrams, everything must have high resolution. If you have low resolution, it is a reason for reject. Or the people, if even accepted, some journals, unfortunately, I see nowadays, they accepted and published papers with very low resolution pictures, figures, diagrams, etc. This shows the seriousness or negatively seriousness of the journal. If a journal publishing only high resolution items, then it's a good journal. Okay, that's important. So people think that way, so you have to think that way. There must be enough explanation on each of them. Nowadays, as a referee or as an editor, I receive lots of papers on similar subjects, like topological indices, for example. People use lots of calculations, very good calculations, not very important, but correct calculations at least, okay? And they put some figures, some graphics, some surface, some statistical XYZ figures, you know, diagrams. there are curves or there are surfaces, very colorful ones, looking very nice, looking very interesting, especially if you are not working in the same area, they look attractive. But when you read the paper, if you are an expert, okay, when you read the paper and when you want to read something about the figures, there's nothing. It is just put there, these figures, tables, diagrams, they are put into the paper just to make it attractive, okay? But it is not making it attractive in most cases. So please be careful. Write comments about each figure, each table, each diagram somewhere. Checklist before the end. The following questions must be answered affirmatively, positively before submitting your paper. Scope. Is the article appropriate for this publication? That's the main thing. Some nowadays journals have pages or online tools to select which publication of this publishing house is better. Okay, for example, in Springer, you have to go and search. There are maybe 3,000 journals. Which journal is the most suitable? How they do it? With keywords, with codes, classification numbers, okay, with title. These are things. So if you write the keywords, the automated system will suggest you a few publications. And in some good quality publishers, nowadays, in the last few years, once they reject your paper, in 2 or 3 days, they send you an email. Okay, there are special people doing this, okay, in these publishers. You know, most of you. They suggest you, they say they are sorry because they couldn't accept the journal, the publisher could not accept your paper due to the reasons, okay? And usually these are, of course, not the editors, these are just officers there in the publisher house. And they do some research for you. They suggest 2 or 3 journals for your publications, okay? But if you don't lose time waiting for the rejection, so you should do this search yourself first. Is the journal you are thinking of submitting right journal for your work? Novelty. Is this original material distinct from previous publications? Is it novel information? That's also important. Originality. Validity. Is the study well designed and executed and finished? Okay, so validity of the work is important. This is, of course, in our case of mathematicians, this is something to do with the proofs. Proofs are correct and validity is correct. Validity is good. Data. Are the data reported, analyzed, and interpreted correctly? As we explained, we don't need that usually. Clarity, everything should be expressed clearly, concisely, and logically. You must use the correct grammar, spelling, and even spacing. Sometimes people leave space before a dot, for example, or a comma, okay? There should not be a space here. And after a comma, after a punctuation mark, after a question mark, after a dot, there must be 1 space, not 2 or more, okay? Just 1. But people do not care about spacing, spelling, and grammar. And they just finish the paper and they think that it is ready. You must do more work after finishing your paper. Believe me, okay? If you fail to do so, then it will show you as a new beginner, as an amateur, and reduce the chance of paper accepted, okay? And compliance, there are usually some compliance statements you should answer when you are submitting. Is there any, problems between the authors? Is there any, ethical problems or something like that between people, between some authors, with other people, with other authors. These are important. These are things required by law in many countries. And what you achieve, what is your significant contribution to the field? This is the advancement part. You shall explain this very carefully. Common mistakes, maybe towards the end, we have only a few minutes. Common mistakes are: do not use you, the second person. Use either first or third person as a passive sentence. A right sentence is: the authors considered blah, blah, blah, blah, blah, or we considered blah, blah, blah. You should not say you consider this, okay? No, you should not use you in your papers, either the first or third person. It is considered, you can say, as a passive sentence, for example. This is the best, actually, I think. Another common mistake is the tense, the use of tense. Do not use present or future tense. Use past tense. We did, we proved, because you already got the results, okay? So use the same tense throughout the paper. Sometimes future, sometimes present, sometimes past is looking very bad, believe me. Another common mistake is using people's wording. You copy some sentence, some theorem, some introduction paragraph from some other paper, some other book, some other source, and you copy it to your paper. This is, nowadays there are programs detecting this kind of copying, so it's a problem. Some journals directly send you rejection because they say, oh, it is 30%, something in this program, so we must reject it. You have to rewrite your paper with your own phrases and wording. Another thing is, another common mistake, do not use phrases such as, it is important to do this because. This subject is quite important as blah, blah, blah. Or it's a fact that blah, blah, blah, blah. This is wrong, and more importantly, this irritates people. Because not only your topic is important, all topics are important. Don't forget this. So you should not use this kind of wording. Another common mistake, do not use statement as good result, strong result, better result, or perfect result. All the results are perfect, according to some people, some authors, yourself, for example. The reader is the people to judge, okay? Don't use good result, strong result. This kind of adjectives are dangerous. Once you finish your first draft, this is, I will say, but I don't usually do. I should do, everybody should do. When you first finish your draft, leave it somewhere for 1 day or two, okay? Then go back to it in 2 days, 3 days, and read it once more. You will see that you will be rewriting it. Lots of mistakes, lots of needs for change, okay? So, but 2 days ago, you were thinking that it's finished, it is ready to be published, the editors will applaud you, okay? So this doesn't work like that. Every time you read your writings, your paper or your composition, whatever you are writing, every time you read it once more, you change some wording, It happened to me many times, okay? So, at the end, when things go wrong, what we should do? Sometimes things will not go as we wish. The answer from the editor will say that we regret that this is a wording we receive many times. I received many times. We regret that your paper is not unsuitable, is not suitable for our journal, but we know that you have a good chance of publishing it somewhere else. these kind of things. So when this happens, it is not the end of the world. Do not give up, because you have already created these results. You are the owner of these results, so you can improve it. Okay, you can do better with a little bit more effort, but you must just be careful. You want a good result for your paper, you want to become happy, you must work hard. Coffee helps. There is a saying, you know, probably, a mathematician, it says a mathematician, or maybe as a scientist, we can generalize, is the person who transfers coffee to theorems. So get some coffee, it keeps you awake. And at the end, if you care about all these things and maybe more, and of course you have your experience, you use them as well. Usually these are well known, but always neglected facts. I neglect them. When I finish our theorems, I think that it's ready for publication. It doesn't work that way. You have to advertise your work. Okay, so at the end, happiness comes, but you have to work hard. And nowadays, because of this pandemic, I already passed it in August. Thanks God, I'm alive. Please wear your mask, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, if you have any question, please unmute your mic and ask the questions to our resource person.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Yes.
I am Dr. Govindan, sir.
Oh, hello, Govindan. How are you?
How are you? Fine, sir.
I hope my talk was interesting and
How are you,
useful.
sir?
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, sir. It is
Good.
very fun for university, sir. Sir, actually, I have one question, sir.
Yes.
Sir, any rules and regulations to prepare the references, sir?
Oh, references.
Yes, sir.
Every journal has their styles. For example, in Michigan style, or there is some Society for Psychology, I don't remember the brief word for that. There are styles for references. Unfortunately, this is the most difficult part for an author, for a researcher, because you spend days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months for a paper with your coworkers or alone. You prepare your results, you write the paper, but adjusting it, putting it in the right template, especially the references part. If you have 30, 40 references, it's horrible, because the title should be written in some special place, in BibTeX, for example. The author should be written indifferently. Sometimes initials must be at the beginning. Sometimes there must be dot between initials. Sometimes there must not be a dot. They should be, if you have two initials, like my name, Ismail Naci, I and N should be together. Sometimes I dot space and dot. So every journal has different styles. I think 6 or 7 valid styles there are nowadays, international styles. So whichever journal you select, unfortunately, you have to rewrite your references according to the rules of the publisher, unfortunately. This is really tiring, especially when you got some paper rejected, and if you are sending it to another publisher, another journal with different template, for hours you have to try to change it. That's most disturbing part, unfortunately, if this is what you asked.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I am,
Uh,
sir. I am, sir.
Professor, we have one more doubt.
Yes.
When you are citing the article with your paper, some authors, they are using like a Mendeley softwares. How is efficiently used for those softwares when we are writing the papers?
Well, the efficiency is when you have a reference, when you are using a reference. I mentioned about the writing style, so I passed that part. But you have to explain why you use this reference. That's important. And another thing I missed to say, some people send papers, for example, to me or to journals where I'm editor or referee, and there are let me say 20 references, mostly papers, sometimes books or some other things. And when I look at the paper, the main text, I see that only 16 of them are used. And usually the unused references are the ones belonging to the author or authors, recent publications, okay? So they want to quote, they want to give reference to their papers, but they are not very much related to the topic of this paper, particular paper, but they want to publish, they want to advertise their papers, they want to get citation. Of course, self-citation is not so good, but in some cases it's good. So they give references to their papers, but they don't say anything in the introduction or somewhere else. That's a problem. You must use every reference you give in the text. And you must explain why you use this reference, why you quoted this reference. Another thing, some papers give all the references in one sentence. You can see for further information in graph theory, the references cite 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 until the end. Okay? They are collected into one bracket, okay? Or in two brackets, let me say. In one place, some group, and in another part of introduction, another group. For the theorems, between the theorems, no references are used. That's another problem. That means the authors actually did not use these references. The authors wrote just some new results which are not related to any existing results in the literature, which is not good, okay? Some good editors, serious editors, know about this kind of ideas. When a young author try to do this advertising for their papers, or to show that the authors used many papers, because if you write 2 references, it's no good, okay? You have to write at least 5, 6, 10 references in your paper. So if you use very excessive number, it's no good. If you use less number, it's no good. If you use an average number, reasonable number, without using them in the text, it's a serious problem. And if you group the references in one place or in 2 places or in 3 places, let me say, it is also not trustable. Okay, these are the things you have to care about. Yes.
Hello, I have a question.
Hello. Yes, please.
How to identify the scopus and the receiver journal, which is new one, because we have clone journals.
That's difficult nowadays. You need experience, and people usually try to send to the journals where they are successful. If you have a paper published in journal A, let me say, then The first journal you want to send your new work is Journal A, naturally, because you know that they accepted already your work and you have now similar work and you have to submit somewhere. So Journal A is a good choice, the best choice at the moment. Searching for Journal B, Plan B, is difficult. For example, in India, usually Scopus journals are important. In my country, SCI or SCI expanded journals are important. Scopus is also important, but not for appointments, for example. Everybody at every stage, okay, needs some SCI publications. That's a serious problem. Scopus is more reasonable, maybe, I don't know. Every country has their regulations, and they change regularly as well. After 20 years, people at the top, okay, policy-making people, let me say, politicians usually, unfortunately, not the scientists, they say that, oh, our country is not going well, so we should change something, we should do some change. Let's say instead of Scopus, let's say something else, SCI. They decide easily. They don't care about whether you or me can do research in this paper, okay, in this journal. So that's a serious problem. Unfortunately, you have to keep your experience up to some point to decide about the right journal, whether they are Scopus. Nowadays, of course, there are lists in the internet. For example, Thomson's master list. Clarivate Analytics, for example, is another Thomson product. But your university must be paying for these kind of things. Otherwise, you cannot enter. Usually, you need to ask your friends in another institution paying for this kind of websites. Databases. So many ways you will get to it by the time, I'm sure. You have to try. At the beginning, it's more difficult. After some point, after some level, once you got 20, 30 papers published, it will become easier. But at the beginning, you have supervisors, you have co-workers, you have senior professors in your department. Ask them for help, okay?
Participants, any other questions? Thank you, Professor, for sharing your wonderful ideas regarding the research, regarding research article writing. I hope all participants, you got more ideas from the professor. I thank all the members who are participated in this webinar. I would like to thank our management given the opportunity to conduct this webinar very successfully. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor.